Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do twice a month on a Monday. I bring authors into my home. We talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And this evening I have Scott Ryan joining me. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And what part of the States are you from?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, Florida's gorgeous.
So yeah, it's really nice. Now I'm unsure. Are you the Cuppa and I'm the Natter?
That's right. I'm from England. I'm originally from England. I came here in the
Okay.
70s. And when we sit down and have a chat, it's called a cuppa, which is your cup of
What's your
tea,
cup of tea?
and
Right.
a natter, which is your chat. So
Oh,
you sit down, let's sit down and have a cuppa and a natter. So I
okay.
wanted to incorporate my English heritage into my chats because people are going to, distinguish that slight accent that I have. And what better than a cup and a
And
natter?
so
'Cause
what kind of tea do you drink?
I drink Yorkshire tea, British tea. It's the only tea I drink. It's Yorkshire Gold. It's a
Oh,
strong tea, and it's the only one I drink. It's the one I love the most.
interesting. So I love tea.
Oh, you do?
I love tea. I know we're here for other things, but I'm very interested in this. So I like, is it like Bergaman? Burgermeister? Burger something?
That's a
Something?
new
Oh,
one to me.
whatever. Like Earl Grey-ish.
Okay, Earl Grey. Okay, Earl Grey. For me,
So
it's got
how
to be a
is your
strong
tea compared
tea.
to Earl Grey?
I'm sorry?
How is Earl Grey compared to your Yorkshire tea? I've never had.
Earl Grey is not as strong. I don't
Okay.
think it's as strong. And I drink milk with my tea. That's
Okay.
the English way. We put
Of
milk in it
course.
and sugar. So I have to keep that strength. And they have what's known as a regular Yorkshire tea, which is the red label. The Yorkshire Gold is much stronger. Um, and I've been drinking tea since I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And I'm very picky with my tea. If I'm down to like 5 tea bags, I start panicking. I gotta start ordering my tea bags.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Um, and I have this tea. I wish I knew what it was called. But it tastes like the darkest, deepest woods. And it's almost like drinking whiskey. And I only have it once every 2 weeks. But I bet you would love it because it has so much flavor.
You're gonna have to email me the name of
I'm
it.
gonna
I'm
send it
interested.
to you.
I do.
Unless my wife, who is maybe listening, brings me the tea, and I'll read it to you.
There you go. Perfect. But yeah, I'm a huge tea drinker. I drink coffee in the morning, but after 4 o'clock, I still love my afternoon tea. And that's a big thing in England. 4 o'clock, we have our afternoon tea with biscuits, which is cookies,
Right. So I have 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and then starting at 10 a.m., I drink hot tea all day.
Sounds like me. I mean, we could spend the next whole hour
No,
talking about
I don't
tea.
care. Who cares? But I got a book. Buy
You got
it.
a book,
Now
right?
forget
Let's
about
talk
it.
about the book. All right, Scott. So you're in
Now,
Florida.
wait a minute. Before we get off this, I had a feeling this would work. So this is this tea, okay?
Oh,
And I mean, wait a minute. I know this is the internet, but smell this. Am I right?
oh, I smell it. I smell it.
Oh, it is amazing. So it says Lapsang Shulong butterfly from China, black tea, and it's a medium. I'm gonna send you some of this tea.
Seriously?
I'm going to, yeah.
Oh,
You'll give me
wow.
your address afterwards. And I mean, and then you tell me, because this is the most fascinating tea I've ever had.
Now, where do you get that from?
In
Amazon?
Vermont.
Oh, Vermont.
Yeah, it was in a tea shop in Vermont. My friend Am Marinelli, who also has a wonderful book called Comfort Sequels, if you like movie sequels, she sent it to me. I had it up there, and it is so good. I mean, you got to taste
Now,
this.
is that tea leaves?
Yeah, like
Okay.
yeah, you do it the right way. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to
The
steep
strainer.
it,
Yeah,
and
the strainer and all that. Yeah, I
yeah,
got all that.
I don't fool around with my tea.
No, you're a serious tea drinker. I think you're one of the most serious ones I've met.
Well, and
I
I'm
like
not even British, but when I am in Britain, I put milk. I do it the English way as well.
So
Not
excellent.
at home.
All right, before we get into the book, I just want to acknowledge some of our readers that are joining us. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm going to start at the top here and just pop up some names. I'm talking to Scott Ryan. We're going to be talking about his book, The Last Decade of Cinema, which I'm excited to talk about. So let's see who's here. We have Karen. And if you have any questions for Scott during the chat, go ahead and put them up in the comments. And as you know, I will get to as many as I can. We have Karen right here. Hey, Karen. And she says, you are new to me. We have Elaine. I'm just going to pop up a few names. Elaine says hello. And then we have Karen number 2. Hello, Scott and Tina. We have Lori Chasco is
like
joining
nobody
us.
is telling us what teas they like. I mean, we're giving them entertaining tea conversations, and yet not one person has told us what tea they like.
Okay, Scott wants to know which teas you like while I'm going through the comments. So pop them up if you're a tea drinker.
Yeah.
Let's do a survey and see what tea people drink. All right, we have Barbara here, also from Florida. Oh, wait, she was there a minute ago.
Yeah, we have a Florida person. I love Earl Grey. Good job, Karen. We appreciate
There we go.
that.
And then Carol is here. And a couple more. Let me see who else is here. We got Jennifer. She loves English breakfast.
English breakfast is
English
so
breakfast.
good.
And then Barbara says, I don't drink tea. So that's it.
Okay,
and
that's
then
fine. It's
Lori says,
you try it. Both of us do coffee in the morning, but then you do the tea later. Sweet
I do my tea later. That's right. Okay, Scott, let's see that cover one more time for your book, The Last Decade of the Cinema. I love the cover. I mean, the cover tells you exactly what it's about. This is nonfiction. Before we get into this book, just give us a little background. Oh, I love the pictures.
The background shows the movie posters.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, the cover's done by Hannah Fortune. And the idea, I was at a film festival in Dallas, and this is a 35 millimeter projector. And so I took this picture myself.
Oh, wow.
And was like, that's the cover of my book, because so much of what this book is about is, this is a book about movies from the 90s. And the 90s was the last decade where movie was actually shot on film. So all of these movies in this book were shot on 35 millimeter. And then in 1999, George Lucas slipped 2 scenes in The Phantom Menace that were digital to see if he could slip it past audiences, and no one noticed. And the 2000s brought in digital, and all the movie theaters chucked their 35 millimeter projectors in the garbage can for digital. And that's when we started to get movies that were more special effects, more CGI, more fake characters, and less human stories.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw that the book was the decades of the 90s, I said to this before we went live, you just took me back to my teenage years. For me, so many movies quickly popped into my head. I mean, a few I wrote down was like Pelican Brief, Grumpy Old Men, Dancing with the Wolves, Braveheart, Pulp Fiction. These are all movies that take me back to that time. Briefly, can you tell us which movies that you focus on in the book?
Yeah, so I write 24 essays about 24 different movies spread out through the decade. I pick either 2 or 3 movies a year. And then in the back of the book, there are 35 more paragraphs, just real quick, heavy hitters, because it was killing me to narrow it down. So I ended up watching 160 movies to do this book from the 90s. So I don't know what you do with your time, but I was sitting there watching movies saying, I am working.
Yeah, what a cool job.
Yeah, I have to watch this. I'm sorry.
So when you pick a movie, you watch it. When you put it in the book, what do you tell us about the movie? Do you just give it an outline? Do you give it a rating? Do you just give us some detail of what you narrate the book with?
I didn't want to. This is not like a review where I'm going to go through and tell you about the movie. It's not that. I basically wanted. And these are also not my favorite movies. What I tried to show was that in the 90s, characters and grown-up thought was what was selling movies. These are also not movies that were like independent. All of these movies played at your local mall. They were everywhere, and everyone was consuming them. And what I liked is that they were all different. Whereas now every movie is a superhero movie or a sequel or the same thing that you've seen a million times. And in the 90s, just like the movies you brought up, you said Pelican Brief, that was a courtroom drama. You said Braveheart, that was a bit of history. You said Pulp Fiction, which is like, you know, a genre bending, that movie
Everything.
changed all history. You know, even what you said, we're all different. And that's the point of this book. So I didn't try to pick the same kind of movie. There's a rom-com, there's a Western, there's an action picture, there's a family drama, because that is what was going on in the 90s, and that's what we liked. That's what actually made money.
Correct one. And for me, but I mean, I have lost track of movies today. I really don't know what's playing, what's big in the theaters. I don't remember the last time I watched the Grammy, not the Grammys, what is it? The Oscars.
Oscars.
The Oscars. And it just seems to me that since it went digital, it's kind of lost that magical feeling. It really has. Back in the 90s and the 80s too, it was like a party night, Oscar party night. We would all sit around and see who's going to get the awards. And it just seems like part of that magic has disappeared, sadly. Am I correct in believing that?
Oh, it's definitely true. And even if we weren't talking about our feelings, you could totally go by ratings. I mean, the ratings for all award shows are almost non-existent now. It's not a big deal. But the real problem is that there's no reason to go to the movies because you've already seen it before. Like,
You nailed it.
you know, you saw Lion King as an animated picture, then they want to make Lion King as a live action picture. Then they say, well, let's do it all CGI with, you know, computers making the animals. It's still, you know, a monkey holding up a lion cub over a rock. I mean, how many times can you see that?
Yeah.
Where Pulp Fiction, you had never seen something like that before. When you think of Swingers, which, you know, turned everyone on to swing music, the Jean Favreau, and introduced us to Vince Vaughn. That was a totally different kind of movie that we hadn't seen. When that happens, it engages our feelings of life and love and all that stuff, and then you're more interested in the Oscars and everything else about it, and you want to leave your house and go see that story.
Correct. And what I like too about that is, like you mentioned, the variety. You can, if you want Western, or if you want drama, if you want murder, if you want suspense, if you want romance, it was all there. You can pick and choose. Nowadays, like you said, they all blend in together. And for me, honestly, they're boring. Whether or not it's because of my age, I disconnect with the genres or with the generation that are making these movies. When me and my husband want to sit down and watch a movie, it's always from the 80s or the 90s or John Wayne. We are both a huge John Wayne fan. He never gets old. And then another thing too that we're not fond of, and I speak for my husband too, is remakes. Just leave the movie alone. Just leave it alone. You know, it's like they came out with a new True Grit. I won't watch it. You cannot top John Wayne. I'm sorry. No disrespect to the actor in that movie, but you can't top John Wayne, and I won't watch it.
Exactly. And if you want to see a good Jeff Bridges movie, then you see The Big Lebowski from the 90s, and that is certainly a movie that's singular and on its own. I totally agree with you about remakes. One of the things that I thought was interesting in when I was doing research on the book, I picked 1994 as the best year of movies in the 90s. A lot of people think it's 1999, which also had an incredible slate of movies. But for me, it's 1994. You've got Shawshank Redemption, which I think is an absolutely perfect movie.
Brilliant.
Pulp Fiction, which totally changed movies forever. And then one of my personal favorites, which is Reality Bites, because I'm Gen X, and that was the first Gen X movie that was about my generation. So when I was looking at 1994, the top 10 grossing films that year, do you know how many sequels or remakes or, you know, superhero movies there are in 94? Zero.
Huh?
One. But when I was writing the book in 2022, I think it was something like 9 out of 10 were either a remake or, Harry Potter 8 or Spider-Man 42. But in 94, there were none. Like, that's crazy. That's how much movies have changed. There was 10 original ideas that were not connected to anything else that
Now,
came
back
out.
in the 90s, a movie that popped in my head, you're talking about technology and everything. Back in the 90s, they didn't have the technology they have today, obviously. But when you see a scene like Braveheart, where they have the battlefields with all the battlefields, that's not all individual actors. That is technology, correct? They'd still have some kind of technology where they could.
I don't know enough about Braveheart to say.
Okay, I was
But
just
my
curious.
feeling is they were actors. So is Braveheart? I don't. Braveheart
No
is not one of
fiction.
my favorite movies, and it's not in my book. So
Okay,
I
thank you.
say that I don't know very much about Braveheart, but for some reason I feel like Braveheart came out in '96. Please, internet, tell me how I'm wrong. This is the other part. Like, Google it right away. He
I
was
know,
wrong.
right?
It was
Don't you just
95.
love the research?
But anyway, I do know that Evita came out that year, and there's the huge "Don't Cry for Me" Argentina scene with Madonna standing up on the
Oh
balcony.
yeah, right.
Those are all people. That's not computer.
So the
They
way the
really got
technology,
people.
yeah,
And I think it makes a difference. When I watch a movie now, where they just have computer people fighting in the background and it's all that, it's not the same to me
it's
as
not.
knowing they lined up all those actors and they're really doing it. It makes a difference.
It doesn't give off the same energy. It really
No,
does
well,
not.
you're removed. You're safe
Yeah,
from
yeah.
it.
Agreed.
There's a
Agreed.
wall that comes down when a real person is emoting their self to you, and that's the movies I like. I want human character stories.
I agree
Look,
with
the
you.
internet did it for us. Braveheart was 95 and I said 96.
Oh, you are
I
so
mean,
close. Yeah.
my goodness, how does he live?
Okay, I'm going to pop up some comments, and I saw a couple of questions here I want to pop up too, and then do some random comments. Elaine says, Shawshank Redemption, my favorite movie of all. I don't like remakes either. Let's see. Elaine also says the only remake I have watched is Roadhouse. Was that in the 90s, Roadhouse? That was with
Roadhouse is an 80s movie. Well, the first one, the Patrick Swayze one, did they remake it, Roadhouse? Why would they remake
they
Roadhouse?
did make it, and I don't know why. And the other one they remade with Patrick Swayze is when he was the bank robber in the surf. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But the originals are always the best. Always the best. It was Patrick Swayze, and he was a banker, but also a huge surfer. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it. Oh well.
Yeah, I know
Here's
what
a
you're
comment I
saying.
want to
I
pop
think
up.
that's
Have you seen many animated Japanese films? I feel like they are making unique narrative storytelling even nowadays. Your Name is an all-time favorite for me.
Well, I'm assuming she's saying that Scott Ryan is an all-time favorite for me. That's how I'm taking Your Name. My book doesn't cover animated, and it doesn't. Point Blank. It was the movie with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves. They were
That's
just.
it. What was the name of the movie?
Everyone's telling us Point Blank.
Okay, that was it. Thank
And
you,
that's an
people.
80s movie as well.
That's an 80s.
But no, I actually have not. I don't really watch animated Japanese movies, and I'm sure that that they are creative and new and different. Mostly, my theory about movies ending is from an American point of view. I think British, not to bring up the tea again, because my gosh, we'll spend another 15 minutes on tea. We'll do it.
We will. We
Um,
will.
but I think Britain's making a lot of great movies. It's just Hollywood that is scared of taking chances anymore.
It's a shame. It really is a shame. When was this book published?
When was my book published? This year. Yeah, just
Oh, it's this
a
year.
couple months ago. Yeah, it's new.
And what made you decide to write it?
Well, it was during COVID. I was just trying to find a movie to watch, and I really couldn't. And I stumbled upon the movie Awakenings, which is directed by Penny Marshall, and it had Robin Williams and Robert De Niro in it. And I hadn't seen it since it came out, and it was so good. And I was really moved by it.
Seen it.
And I was like, when did this come out? And it was 1990. And then the next night I watched another movie and it was so good. And I was like, when did this come out? And it was like 92. And then I started to think, this is interesting. The movies didn't feel old to me. You know, I do like movies from the 70s and 80s. And as you said, like, you know, there's some great John Wayne movies and Westerns from the 60s. But they feel old now. You know,
they are old.
Yeah, they are. And the music isn't quite as good. You know, a bad guy comes in and the music goes bum, 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 bum. And, you know, like I've been watching a lot of Hitchcock recently and they're good, but they're old. But the 90s it doesn't feel old to me. You know,
It's kind of on the border. It's on the
Yeah.
border of being old. Yeah.
But I mean, the technology was sort of there. They knew what to do with the camera. There was enough special effects that if there's a bad guy, like we said about Braveheart, again, not one of my favorite movies, but I've certainly seen the battles. And you and I don't really know if it was special effects or
Yeah, I
not.
was just
And that's
curious.
the point of the 90s. In the 80s, you'd know.
Yes, you would for sure, for definitely. And that's
Like-
the other thing about technology and AI. You're putting a lot of people out of work. All these extras are no longer needed, and that's pretty sad.
Well,
Because
and they're putting you and me out of work by stealing our writing and putting it in ChatGPT or whatever the heck it is. I don't know.
it's really sad. You go on Amazon and you see so many books now being written by AI. It's really, really sad. And it's also scary, and also narrators. I mean, when it comes to AI, it's putting so many of us out of work. And I swear to God, technology is going to destroy us because there'll be nothing left for us to do.
Well, and here's what you can say about my book. Anyone who reads this book will know that AI did not read it or did not write it. I'm sure AI didn't read it either. But because I write like I talk. I'm all over the place. I'm funny. I'll say something really serious. And then all of a sudden I'm dropping a joke. And that, no one will ever suspect my books being written by a computer. I promise that.
I believe it too. When you're writing the book, how long did it take you to research all of these movies again?
It took me about 4 years, to be honest.
wow.
I was working on other books because I didn't know how to approach it. Because it was a lot to do. My first idea was to do all dramas, just do a chapter on dramas, a chapter on comedy. But then I realized I had things to say about a movie like Malcolm X that I didn't just want to write a paragraph about it. So I had made the decision to pick at least 2 movies a year and sort of go through and really get into something about why this movie wouldn't be made today, or why it mattered that it was made when it did, how the characters were developed, and why it was grown up, why it moved us.
Interesting. And out of the ones that are in the book, did you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I have a lot of them. I mean, as far as a perfect movie, I really think The Prince of Tides. That movie is so good. And it's a movie that I feel like someone could be like, oh, isn't Barbara Streisand in it? I don't like her, so I'm not going to watch it. You're making a really big mistake because it has everything in it. I mean, it's an incredible book. And then a great movie from that, which is really hard to do. And Pat Conroy, who wrote the book, worked on the screenplay with Barbara Streisand. And I think that makes a difference as well. But if you want to laugh, if you want to cry, it's masculine, it's feminine, it's got everything. I love The Prince.
I do love the movie. Okay, I'm going to throw some random genres up you and see if I can get your favorites from you.
Okay.
Your favorite comedy.
And well, from the 90s, right? We're saying from
Yeah,
the
we're
90s.
talking about the 90s.
Probably The Birdcage.
I have not seen that.
Oh, it's so good. It's directed by Mike Nichols, who always directs grown-up movies. He was someone that if he directed the movie, I was going to watch it. But it has Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, Callista Flockhart.
Oh, why did I miss it? The Birdcage? Okay, that's going on my...
And I'm pretty sure that one streams. It's easy to find.
Yeah, I love Robin Williams. I love a lot of his movies.
It's probably Yeah, I'm gonna say it's Robin Williams' best movies. Do any of do any of your family members read your books? This is am I allowed to answer a question
Yeah,
that
I'll
popped
put
up
it
there?
up for you. Do any of your
I'm
family members read your books?
yeah. Are you kidding me? What? I it's hard- no.
No?
They're like, why are you writing a book? I don't know if my family knows I write books.
Seriously?
What are you talking about? Do you think I could get my children to be interested?
No?
No. What are you
How old
kidding
are your
me?
children?
Really?
Yeah,
Like
really.
I'm supposed to have
Yeah. Mhm.
to know these things? I mean, they're like in their 20s.
Oh, okay. Do they watch any of these 90s movies? Or do they say,
No.
Dad, no?
No.
No?
They're like, "Come on, dad. Like we're gonna watch your 90s movies." And I do a lot of stuff on Twin Peaks and David Lynch, and I go around um and do those film fests, and they're always like, "Ah, Twin Peaks, who cares?" So
Okay. Do you focus at all on any TV series in the books, or is it just movies?
it's just movies.
Okay.
I have done books on David Letterman, and I did a book on moonlighting, which had Bruce Willis and Sybil
Oh, I
Shepherd.
like that show. In fact, I was watching it a couple of months ago, streaming it.
Yeah, it finally is streaming.
Yeah,
My book might a little help. My book's right there. Bing.
there it is. There. Oh,
Um,
okay. I was reading some of the notes you got in your book. You also had the privilege of interviewing some
yes.
celebrities for the book. Can you tell us a little about that and how that came about?
Well, whenever I do my books, I really like to talk to the artists who created them. Because I like to know how something's made. I want to know how they did it. And I think that's more interesting than like interpreting it. Like how did they do this? So I wanted to interview writers. So as I said, Reality Bites is one of my favorite movies, and Helen Childress wrote it, and it's the only movie she ever wrote.
Oh,
And I thought that was so interesting. So I tracked her down and I interviewed her. To me, that's the centerpiece of the book because I think Reality Bites is the quintessential 90s movies. It was about being 20 something in the 90s at that exact moment. And it's sort of the big chill of the 90s, let's say. And my interview with Helen is so good. She doesn't know that movie meant something to so many people. She thinks of it as a failure. It was the only movie she
oh,
ever got
wow.
to write, and it didn't do as well as they thought that it should. But, you know, the soundtrack was huge, and everyone I know loves Winona Ryder and Ethan Hawke and Ben Stiller, and we love that movie. So it's a really emotional movie about being a writer and kind of almost failing a little bit, but not really, but like not being able to see it. So I feel like if you're a writer and you feel that your work isn't like living up to where you maybe wanted to do, I think that interview will help. I also interviewed Alexander Payne, who wrote Sideways and About Schmidt. Those are kind of his biggest movies, but I interviewed him for a movie called Citizen Ruth, which was his first movie. And he's very fascinating. He's like an Oscar winner. Patricia Arquette is in the
Oh,
book.
okay.
Natasha Gregson Wagner is in a movie called Two Girls and a Guy, and she's Natalie Wood's daughter. So I interviewed her as well. And then Tiger Williams wrote Menace to Society, which is about LA gangs. And he was like a 22-year-old black guy who just got to write a Hollywood movie. Like it was
Oh, my
obviously his
goodness.
first movie too. His story is incredible. Writing about the inner city of LA at that time.
How
And
exciting.
yeah, so I think that really helps. So it's not just me having this theory that quality movies aren't being made, it's the people who actually worked them
Yeah,
doing it
you've got
well.
the background to the movie, and these interviews are in the book?
Yeah. Yes.
Excellent.
So it's like you're just reading the exact interviews. Like I like to, all my books are in oral history format. That's why the Moonlighting book and the Letterman book is, because I don't want to filter it through what I think. I want you to hear exactly what they say, so that makes it easier to get interviews too. Cause I say, look, you don't have to worry about trusting me. Whatever you say is going right in the book. So you're your own editor.
Perfect. That's a great way. I want to pull up this question from Hannah. It just popped up. She wants to know, are there any movies that you've seen in the 2010s or 20s that feel like a 90s movie?
I think Licorice Pizza feels like a 90s movie, but it's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It was kind of like an Oscar movie about 2 years ago. But he came from the 90s. He directed Magnolia. And I feel like I saw something else recently that had that feel, but right now I'm not thinking of it. But for the most part, kind of no. I mean, for the most part, they're not going to develop a character. They're not going to take the time that it takes, and they're also not going to do risks. In a lot of these movies, I point out scenes where like nobody would be able to do that now because people would take it. They, you know, in the 90s, we knew they were movies, so we didn't judge the director or the writer or the actor in their personal life.
And not only that, back in the 90s, you had your stars, you had your celebrities that, oh, he's in this movie, I'm going to go see it, whether it be John Travolta, Mel Gibson, Brad Pitt. These were all icons of the 90s, and they brought you to the movies because they're in that movie. I think of today, who are the big icons for the movies? I can't, in my head, because I am so out of touch with movies today, what movie stars are out there today that will draw people in to a movie?
Well, unfortunately, it's the what's called the IP is the star. So it's Harry Potter, it's Star Wars,
It's the theme.
it's the Lion King, it's the Little Mermaid, it's Wicked. You know, it's the property that's the star, not Robin Williams. As you said, Brad Pitt is in so many of these movies. Tobey Maguire is another one who's in
What's
a lot
his
of
name?
movies.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. He's a full-on movie star.
Yeah.
And look at, Tom Cruise is in 1999. I cover Magnolia and Eyes Wide Shut, and they're both dramas that have Tom Cruise, and he really never made another movie again. I mean, they're all action movies. I mean,
because after that it was Mission Impossible, and God knows how many of those they made. And then he had Jack Reacher.
Yeah, Jack someone.
Jack
they're all him running.
And then I think in the 90s, Days of Thunder with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, it's a great
That's where they met. So, but it's completely different. Do you think now that you've written this book that took you 4 years to research, and that doesn't include writing the book, correct? Just your research?
That was writing and getting it done. I mean, I probably watched movies for probably 2 years, and I probably wrote the book in 6 months. It's a pretty long book too. Like, it's a meaty book because I couldn't stop writing it.
Yeah, how many pages?
It's 320.
And that one is a paperback. What other formats do you have the book in?
I have it in an audio book, which I read. I actually really like the audio book because then my jokes come through good, because you can tell when I'm being sarcastic and not. And it's an ebook and hardback. Yeah, hardback too on Amazon.
Oh, wonderful. And how long did it take you to narrate it? Because audio is not easy.
I know, and I do it myself too, because Amazon keeps 70%. I said 70%. I'm going to say it again. Amazon keeps 70% of the money from an audiobook. They didn't write it. They didn't record it. They didn't edit it. And they keep 70% of the money. So that's all you need to know about what America feels about artists. Good
Lord. Okay. So this book came out this year. Mm-hmm. It focuses on the 90s movies. Do you think you'll be doing one for like the 80s or the 70s or the 2010 and the 20s?
No, I probably won't. The title is The Last Decade of Cinema. Someone was asking again. I mean, I'm kind of, we got to be sure.
The last decade of cinema.
The last decade of cinema. You know, my problem is that I can't stay in a lane. This is my problem. I'm working on my 10th book right now. And I always go all over the place because I get another idea and then I go there. You know, I'm sure I should do like the last decade of furniture and the last decade of appliances. And I'd be the last decade guy. That'd be like, that's the marketing
The
genius.
decade. That's your
Yeah,
theme,
like
right there.
he's the decade guy. Or I'd be like all 90s all the time. But, you know.
Yeah, I think about the
unlike-
80s too when I think of movies. How about musicals? Do you have any musicals included? I'm not a big musical buff when it comes to movies. I have a couple of favorites, but they're not from the 90s. One is My Fair Lady.
Of
I
course.
just absolutely love that movie. And the other one is Grease.
Grease is the word.
Yeah, that I could watch that movie until the cows come home.
What about Chicago?
Yeah. No, I watched Chicago once. It wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay. So there's no musicals in my book. The Birdcage is probably the closest, which it really isn't a musical, but Stephen Sondheim, who's my favorite, and I put a Sondheim quote in every one of my books that starts every one of my books. He wrote some music for it, but it's not really a musical. There really weren't any musicals in the 90s.
Oh, really?
I'm
Because I
sure
think Grease was 80s, right? Or maybe 70s?
Grease is 77.
Now I do
78.
feel old. Now I feel really old.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater the same day I saw Burt Reynolds' The End. Do you remember that movie?
What is it called?
The End with Burt Reynolds. Yeah, it
No.
opened the same day. And my mom wanted
I
to
was
see
watching
the
Grease.
Burt Reynolds movie, and I wanted to see Grease, and we went to see both.
Okay. Going back to the technology and how the movie industry has changed a lot, because you can stream your movies as we mentioned. I mean, I no longer pay for TV dish, or I have it all streamed. I just have it all
Right.
streamed. And the one thing I like about it is the a la carte. I can pick and choose what channels I want to watch versus I go to Dish, they give me 100 channels that I'll never ever watch, but I'm going to pay for them. And that always used to just rile me. When it comes to the movie theaters, though, because people can stream these movies, even though there is a wait, how long is that wait? Say like a movie coming out today, when can you stream it on your TV?
I mean, pretty much right away.
Really?
I mean, are there any movies anymore that really play for very long? Like, I forget, you know, within a couple of weeks, you can pay it. You can pay for it and rent it at home through like Apple or Amazon. But, you know, I worked at a video store in the 90s. I got hired in 1990.
Blockbuster?
Everything comes back. So I loved it. It was a mom and pop video store in my small town of Massillon, Ohio, and it was called Video Time. And I loved it because I could watch any old movie I wanted to for free, and that's really where I got my film education. That was the first time I had seen Chinatown or, you know, Rosemary's Baby, and just like I said, Hitchcock and things like that. And people think that streaming is just like renting movies.
It's not.
It's not, because when you went to the video store, Star Wars and Star Trek were sitting side by side in the sci-fi. Now, when you stream, you're not streaming every movie you want. You're streaming every movie that Netflix purchased for you to stream. So you can't stream The Prince of Tides right now, or you can't stream Citizen Ruth, which is in my book.
But you could go to the video store back in the day and get whatever you want. And that also took me back to my younger years as a mother. Me and my son would always look forward to Friday night, Saturday night. Let's go pick out a movie. And we would go to Blockbuster, you know, and I would just get a kick out of spending time with my son picking out the movie that he wanted. And it was a movie night at home, popcorn, soda, you know, and the movies he picked, you know, little things like that, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a big thing back then. It was movie night. It was movie night.
Exactly.
You know, you talk about the video store. We have one here in town. We still have. Yeah, I'm in Fraser Park in California. It's a little mountain community. They have DVDs though, but it says right across the top, video store. And we have people that come through town, tourists, can't believe we have a video store, and take their picture right outside because it's still open. You can still go in there and rent DVDs. They don't have VHS, of course, but that's a nostalgia that sadly went away.
Yeah, and it matters that that physical property came out. I end my book with Magnolia, which came out in
Okay, that's a
1999.
good one.
It's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Well, when I watched that movie for the book, I watched the DVD that I bought way back in 2000 when it came out because I still have it. Magnolia wasn't streaming, and I mean, it might be now, but no corporation in the world can tell me if I can watch Magnolia or not because I own it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that matters to me. And all of these books, all of the movies in this book, I own. I have them. You
They're
can never
yours.
take them away from me.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. When you, like you said, you can purchase your movies on Apple or whatever, you have. What happens to those movies if you get rid of your phone, or you get, for me, technology is beyond. I don't buy movies. I just, whatever's on, I'm going to watch.
Mhm.
So for me, if you purchase a movie, then you get rid of your phone or your Apple account. Where does that movie go?
Well, it's even more sinister than that. So you can purchase something through Apple, and then let's say that that director says something that politically someone doesn't like. Well, Apple can remove that from their streaming service, and whether you bought it or not,
You no longer
you
own it,
won't have it anymore. And
even though
that's
you
happened
paid
with
for it.
TV shows, even though you paid for it.
So
You
technically, all of this streaming, you really don't own any of it. It's just like with Kindle books. You have all these Kindle books on your Kindle, but Amazon can wipe them out whenever they feel like it,
Of course. And
and you no longer own them.
it happens with television series a lot more than movies. And they can remove them from you. And that is something that, like, especially with music matters to me. Like, I have vinyl records and they're mine. I don't stream music. I don't Spotify or any of that stuff. Like, I'm never going to trust other people to my art. The art in life is why I live. That's the most important thing to me. So, have your stuff, but I will have my art and I
There
will
you
own
go.
it.
Yeah,
It
it's like the
matters.
lack of ownership is like really, really taking over. It's like, let's just rent, we'll watch it, we don't need to buy it. For me, I prefer the VHS tapes over DVDs because every one of my DVDs was scratched. They just scratch so easily, and then the movie's ruined. So when
And
they got
that's so
rid of
true.
when they got rid of VHS and replaced it with DVDs, I'm like, why? Why?
Well, we're always taught that the new thing is better and you have to get it and you have to get it right away. But like vinyl records really proved that that wasn't true.
True.
I mean, records, they luckily came back, but there was that section where all that music didn't come out on vinyl and it still hasn't. And now it's happening with movies and television. Luckily, there's really nothing that they're making that I really want to own
That's worth.
anymore. So,
That's what. Yeah, I mean, you go to Barnes and Nobles, they actually have a vinyl section now where you can buy record
right.
players and LPs. I never thought I'd be saying that again. Do they
I
call them
know.
LPs today, or do they have
Yeah, they're
another
still
name?
LPs. Yeah, long playing records. Yep,
How
LPs.
about 45s? Do they still have those?
Of course, and I just bought one not too long
Remember the
ago. So
45s? Yeah, I am. Okay, with all this technology, the streaming, people can watch the movies at home that have just come out of the theater. Where do you see the industry for the movie theater going? Will people still go to the movies in person, or is
well,
that
I think
fading out now?
yeah, I mean, I feel like Wicked really proved that people will. I mean, everybody wanted to go see Wicked in the theater because it was a spectacle. And going back to the Prince of Tides, I write about how I saw the Prince of Tides in the movie theater 3 times back in '92 when it came, or '91 when it came out. And there's a very dramatic scene in the middle of the Prince of Tides. The whole movie, and I don't spoil it in the book and I won't spoil it here, there's a whole mystery about what happened. And when you get to the scene where you're finding out what happened, I could hear everyone breathing in the theater, and it was sold out. There was probably 300 people in that theater. And everyone says you want to see an action movie in the theater, but you really want to see a drama in the theater because you are having this experience, this human experience, and you can hear people cry and their breath shake. And that moment can happen if you make a movie that will pull people into the theater. I think it can happen.
I hope so. I mean, and this is how long it's been since I've been to the movie theater. The last movie I saw in the theater, I took my mother. She came here from England, and it was the Titanic.
Okay.
That was the last time.
Well, that was the 90s. The Titanic.
Was that the 90s?
Movie.
Okay. All right. Oh, no, I take that back. I have taken my grandsons to a couple of movies. I can't remember what they were, though. Oh,
Right.
one was
Probably
Peter Rabbit.
Okay.
Peter Rabbit. But the Titanic is one of those. And yes, I bawled my eyes out. Yes, I got the emotions in that movie theater. And my mother did too.
Well, that's the thing about streaming.
Is that movie in your book?
It's funny. So two very, very famous 90s movies are not in my book. And that's Forrest Gump and Titanic.
Is there a reason why?
Yes. And in my introduction of my book, I bring it to attention. I put boycotts of both those movies back in the 90s. I've actually never seen Forrest Gump or Titanic. And I was thinking like, oh, if I was really a good journalist, I would see those movies. But I had that boycott for 30 years. It wasn't worth ruining it just for this book.
I get you.
So no, I didn't see them. And it's mostly because in 94, I loved Pulp Fiction so much that I was angry with Forrest Gump. And even though I've never seen it, I'm pretty sure it didn't age well. And Titanic, I just feel like I just didn't care. I mean,
I love that movie.
I think
the movies I've never seen, and there's a reason why, is Jaws. I will never, ever watch any of the Jaws movies because I love to swim in the ocean. And my husband says, don't ever watch those movies.
Right.
Don't ever watch them because you'll never swim in them again. So I refuse to watch them. I have no desire to watch them. Even the music, I'll shut it off.
Right.
So, but there's reasons why we don't, want to watch certain movies. I want to pop up Laurie's question. I just got to kick. Laurie is so young. I'm sorry, Laurie, but I'm picking on you. She's asking, what are 45s?
Oh, what are 45s?
We feel old, don't we?
So, you know how you stream just one song on Spotify? That's what a 45 is. A 45 is one song, but it actually came on a record. So you would put it on.
One song only, and then a B song on the other side.
Right.
And I used to stack them up. So one would drop and then play, one would drop.
What
I'm glad to hear they're 45 still. I didn't know that. I thought it was just the 33s that they're bringing out again.
No. There's you can get 45s. Yeah,
okay.
Not always, but it's like a special thing where like Bob Dylan will release a song on 45 or something like that. Now I'm getting another. This is a Bob Dylan 45. So.
What I gotta ask? What do they charge for a 45 nowadays?
Probably $9.99. I'm sure.
$10 for one song?
Yeah, but this was Blind Willie McTell. You think I was gonna live without having Blind Willie McTell? 2 different versions, 2 different sides.
And what do they charge for an LP?
About somewhere between $30 to $40.
Wow.
And did I mention I have like 500 of them or something?
I really wish when I came to the States, I really, really wish I had some of my LPs. I think of some of the LPs I had in my collection back then.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a lot of Beatles?
Huh?
Did you have a lot of Beatles coming from England?
I had Beatles, Abbey Road. I had David Essex, Gary Glitter, David Soul, what's his name? The Partridge Family, David Cassidy, the Osmonds. Yeah, all the 70s. Beatles, you said the Beatles. A lot of it was the 70s music because I came over here in 79. Rolling Stones.
Okay.
Bread. I love bread. I love bread back then.
Well, Oprah also loves bread. I don't know if that joke works, but it does for me. Do you remember the commercial when Oprah was like, I love bread? I don't know. Never mind.
That'd be a good book. Commercials from the decades. The
The
last
last
decade of
decade of commercials.
commercials.
I'm going to be the last decade guy if it's the last.
You are the commercial one, because they don't make commercials like they used to either. That'll be good.
Yeah.
You got to research some. No,
I don't
okay,
think
we
so.
tried. We tried.
We tried, but it's not
We
working.
tried. Okay, I want to ask you, from all the movies that are in your book, which is your least favorite?
No one's asked me that. Probably Terminator 2.
I haven't seen that. I saw Terminator 1. Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Schwarzenegger. I put that in the book, and I'm glad it's in the book because I wanted to show that there were action adventure movies. And there is a scene in that movie where these two little kids are chasing each other with play guns. And they're like, bang, 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 and they're shooting each other. And the one character looks at the Terminator and says, like, humans are going to destroy each other, aren't we, no matter what? And he said, yes, it's in your nature. And it's like a 45-second scene. But I said, like, even in the 90s, there might have been action adventure, but there's a moment of substance in that movie where you think, like, that is our nature. Even as little kids, we want to shoot each other. And it's it could be American, but it's probably human all the way through. So that I kind of focus on that scene and talk about the technology, but it's not really my kind of movie per se. But again, I wanted to hit all
genres. All genres.
And as far as writing goes, the hardest movie to write about was The Big Lebowski. That was the last one I covered. I knew it had to be in the book because it's popular and it's a cult classic, and I love it. But it was really hard to write about because a lot of movies I didn't write about because you would just say it's good, and that it's funny.
Yeah.
That there's nothing interesting about that. So it was really hard for me to get a hook because I think I tried to match how I write to the way the movie is and have them all be different. And in that one, what I finally stumbled upon was I only cover the first 6 minutes of the movie. And I thought, let's just talk about how to set up a comedy. And then once I did that, then I could finally write it. But it took me a long time to figure out what to write about The Big Lebowski.
Can you let us know, top of your head, just like a few other movies that are mentioned in the book? I think we might have mentioned a few earlier. My memory.
Pretty Woman.
Oh, okay.
And Goodfellas, Unforgiven, Malcolm X, Shortcuts, Menace to Society, Before Sunrise, which is a great movie. Ethan Hawke. Have you seen Before Sunrise?
I think I've seen that one, but it's been a while.
It's really a good movie. What is KU? Are your books on KU? I don't know what KU.
Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited.
It's on Kindle.
It's like a subscription. All of my books are on KU, and what it kind of works like a Netflix. They pay, I think it's $9.99 a month, and they can read X amount of books with their membership. And 50% of my income comes from KU. That's why my books are in KU. You might want to look into it.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna say it's probably not.
It's probably not. Okay.
Well, I don't know. Actually, we just switched.
Elaine says it's $11.99 a month. It went up since I last talked about KU.
Yeah, look at that, $9.99 to $11.99.
Yeah,
I was
jump
thinking,
prices.
how much are you getting paid if they're paying $9.99?
Who?
I'm saying it's got to be more than $9.99. I don't. Yeah,
you think on KU, and I think also your book is nonfiction, and
right.
I think KU is more for fiction books.
Oh, okay.
I think. Okay, you mentioned some of the books. I love Pretty Woman, by the way. Is Fargo in your book?
Fargo is, so my rule was I could only do one picture a director. And the Coen brothers directed Fargo and Big Lebowski, and I went with Big Lebowski. Fargo's in the back of the book. So
okay, the reason why I asked about Fargo, I asked you the movie you didn't like. Oh. I cannot stand Fargo. And I'm sure people are going to disagree with me, but it's a movie I just did not get. Whether or not I had too much tea that day, I don't know. But it was a movie I just did not understand, and the accents annoyed the heck out of me. I just couldn't do it. It's a movie I couldn't finish, and I'm curious to see how your thoughts are, because whenever I tell people I did not like Fargo, they're like, "How? How could you not like Fargo?" But for me, it just didn't resonate.
Well, first of all, I have to ask you, how do you feel about movies that have violence in it?
If there's violence where it's gory and bloody, I turn my head or I won't even watch it. I will not watch anything to do with rape, or anything that abuse of a woman. I just can't watch it. And gory violence. But if you just, someone gets shot and they fall, I can do that. But gory,
Because
no.
it is the thing about Fargo is it is a study on kindness versus human violence. So Frances McDormand's character, she plays the sheriff, and she has the accent that annoys you, but that it really is how those people talk. I have a cousin that lives up there, and that's really how they talk. And she is just the essence of kindness, and she's pregnant, which is bringing life into this world and giving something back, and she has to investigate this horrible, this guy gets put in a wood chipper, and it is
Right.
really
Yeah,
disgusting, and a lot of
yeah.
people tune out at that point. But towards the end of the movie, it could even be the end, when she apprehends the person, she says, like, was it worth it? Was this worth it? And it kind of makes you feel like that's what the movie really is about, like this kindness meeting up with ultimate violence. So
yeah,
maybe that was a little highfalutin for our last 2
I
minutes.
couldn't finish the movie, and it might have been at the wood chipper part that I just said I'm done.
Yeah, a lot of the wood chipper part got rid of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Someone asked if I have any Clint Eastwood movies in the book. I do. Unforgiven is the movie that I picked. That movie is incredible. It is so good. I hadn't seen it since it first came out, and it is so good. Like,
I have that one of my all-time favorites, and it's way before the 90s, was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I just love that movie. And I love the music too. The music gets me every single time. It really does. And then Carol puts up, we stopped at the Fargo Museum. They have a museum for this movie on one of our motorcycle trips, and saw the wood chipper.
Yeah, for an extra 50 cents, they'll put you in the wood chipper.
Very cute. Jacqueline says she's never seen Fargo. Yeah, when it comes to gory, I cannot do. When I sit down and watch a movie, I want to enjoy it, and I want to walk away not scared, not petrified, not repulsed. And horror, gory, abuse doesn't do it for me.
Right.
And it's the same with a book. When I read a book, I want to be satisfied. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder after I put the book down.
Right. And I want something to happen. My favorite thing in a movie is to go, huh. Like, I love when I thought we were going this way and we went this way. Like, that's my favorite. That's what I want. And I want to bond with someone. I want to feel for that character. I want to care about them. And I love learning about something I didn't know about.
Yeah, I love
part
stuff
of the
like
world.
One thing that drives me nuts, and not so much when I'm streaming, but I guess when I had Dish or whatever you want to call it, you'd be watching a documentary or a movie that was based on true events, and it could be a life-threatening ordeal, and you're watching this movie, and all of a sudden the commercial comes on, and what's the live interview after the movie? Well, now you know the guy made it. You just know, you just gave the whole movie away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, previews are not your friend either. I talk about that in the book. In the middle of the book, I take a little break called How to Watch a Movie 90s Style, where I say that previews are bad, the credits are good. You want to read the credits. You want to know who wrote it, who directed it, learn who produced it, and then that'll help you choose a movie that will match that.
Right. I could talk to you for another hour. I'm looking at the time and see it's almost 6 o'clock, but I do want to just touch on a few things real quick. You said you've written 10 other books.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you just briefly give us an outline on what the other books are about? Are they all nonfiction?
They're all nonfiction. Yeah, so I usually study art of some sort. So I wrote a book about David Letterman, The Last
Oh,
Days of
cool.
Letterman. So that covers the last 6 weeks of Dave's show. I interviewed all his writers,
Nice.
the producers, the guy who flipped the cue card, the guy who set the lighting. I mean, the whole thing, and it takes you through how they shut down a show for 30 years. I did a book on moonlighting. It's funny. 30 something, the TV show 30 something. For David Lynch, I did his movies Fire Walk with Me and Lost Highway. I did a book about my hometown, Massillon, Ohio, high school football. And right now I'm working on a book about the music of Twin Peaks.
Wow, you're being busy. And the book, Twin Peaks, the one you're working on now, I'm sure it's a lot of research. You have a release date for that one?
That comes out the first Tuesday in June.
Of 2025?
2025, yeah.
Congratulations. That's just around the corner. We got to get you back on because I can talk to you for another hour, especially with tea too.
I know. Let's just do a whole tea show. I'm so mad I didn't make a cup of tea.
Yeah, you got to have your cuppa.
And I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send you this tea.
I would love to try it. I would love to try it.
I mean, I think you're going to like it because it knocks you. It really, it's not for.
I like that, pick me up for in the afternoon. Real quick, Scott, could you let our readers know where they can find you, best place to find you?
I have a website called scottryanproductions.com. And my publishing company is tuckerdspress.com. That's where all our books. I run a publishing company.
Excellent.
So, my books come out through there, or you can, of course, go to Amazon as well. That's where the audiobooks are for the Moonlighting book and the Maslin book. And I'm just working on the audiobook for the new one. And if you love Twin Peaks, says Carol, I have some great Twin Peaks books. That's like my bread and butter.
Oh,
I've interviewed like all of them. That's Laura Palmer up there. If you love Twin Peaks, you should know that was Laura Palmer, Carol. Come on.
Now, the last decade cinema is on audio. What about your other books?
Moonlighting, An Oral History is, and the Maslin book is, and the new one will be. You just don't make any money off it. It's like, it's such a stupid thing. Like, I don't even know why I do it. But I like it to be in my voice because I feel like it plays then. But I really hate it because you just literally are giving it away. It takes
a lot of time.
Oh, it's horrible. And then I'm like, why'd I write this so far? And
well,
I really don't like doing it.
Good luck with that. Okay, I want to talk real quick about the giveaway.
Oh yeah, there's a giveaway.
There's a giveaway for our live audience here. I'll be picking the winner after the live. So I can go through to see who is live. But can you tell us, readers, what the giveaway is?
The giveaway is a cup of tea that we will bring to your house, and you get to have tea with Tina and Scott. Now,
no,
it's a copy of the book. The tea would have been better.
The tea would have with us.
Yeah, I mean, tea with us or the book. No, you'll get a copy of the book, which it's really beautiful. It's got like a lot of great pictures in, and I have the movie posters, and I love pictures in the book, so there's a lot.
Excellent. All right, so that'll be one of the prizes, and the other one is my regular giveaway that I do on every chat. It's a $5 Amazon gift card, and we all know how we get entered. You need to go to my author page if you're not already on there, and share this video. Share it wherever you like, on your favorite pages, your favorite book groups, on your homepage, on Instagram, but do tag me when you share it so I know that you share the video, and you'll be entered into the drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card, and we'll get this video out there. Scott, this has been a pleasure. It's been entertaining. I've learned a lot about the movie industry.
Thank you. I had so much fun, and this was great. Anytime you want to have me back, I'd love to come back, and I will definitely have a cup of tea.
Definitely have a cup of tea. Bring your tea with you. All right, readers, thank you so much for joining us. I will announce the winner on my author page and in my group in a couple of hours. And Scott, if you have some time, I know there's questions I didn't get to. If you want to go to my author page, you can see all the comments and answer any questions that we overlooked or just didn't get to.
Of course. I will be happy to. Anyone can reach out to me. I love hearing from readers. So
thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your night.